I'm live over here.
Are you?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to be on because it's a little bit late. Because I was National Women's Day. I was doing girl business stuff.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Where's that big pile of packages?
I put them up.
Oh, did you?
So I wouldn't have to look at them.
Oh, okay.
Because they were everywhere.
So, you guys may or may not know this, but you hopefully you know this by now. But Leslie has a pretty big makeup business, and like really big. And she set like a record again last month. So we had to send. I mean, how many packages do you think there are?
I can tell you. Hang on. Oh, I didn't even count everybody. I don't think. Oh, I need to recount. I don't know. Let's go with 30.
All right, so like 30 people, like broke little records and stuff.
They just qualified for incentives.
Oh, okay.
Because the team broke.
Because the team broke records
Yeah.
last month.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a huge deal because, you know, not only are we obviously building a business for Leslie, but all these other people are a lot better off than they were by building their businesses as well. So it's working out pretty good and it's pretty awesome. And so I have to give a shout out to Leslie's business every once in a while because it's huge, and it's not huge just for us, it's huge for the people that are, it's a pretty life-changing deal. And you know, it's National Women's Day and there's a lot of angry women, but there's a lot of really awesome women that are doing some cool stuff, and we know a lot of them, and they're getting packages in the mail.
And some of us aren't taking a day off.
Some of them aren't taking a day off because they're
You
pissed.
almost said us.
I almost did say us. Well, I was doing girl business stuff this
You
morning.
were.
It's totally fine.
I appreciate it.
It's totally fine. Mailing all these packages and taping on envelopes and all that stuff. You got to do whatever you got to do to keep us both going. Because it's not just about guitars around here as much as the guys would like to think it is, but it is not. There's a lot of makeup too. Not a lot of stuff. We don't stock anything here or anything really, but there's just a lot of talk about it and a lot of business strategy and stuff like that. And a lot of the trips we go on throughout the year, I would say they're half and half guitar and makeup related. I mean, we go on a lot of trips, and what we do is when we travel, we make it the other. So, like if it's a makeup related thing, you know, we got to go to New Orleans. We got to go to. You're going to Utah a couple times probably. Then I'll go too if I can, if I'm not too busy, and then I will make appointments with dealers and do stuff like that and make it worth it for both of us to go, and then vice versa. When we go to Nashville for NAMM, we go to California, whatever, she'll do, you know, stuff to make it go the other way. So, no, it works pretty good. So this string thing, I've been thinking about doing a string comparison video, but string comparisons are string comparisons are really hard. Strings are one of those things that either you like them or you don't.
See, there's music everywhere. Can I hear the garage? I'm at the garage singing.
The washing machine.
It sings to us.
Who else has a Samsung washing machine that sings to you for like 5 minutes after the thing is done? So anyway, I used to use Diodarios on all of my builds, and Diodario started to do away with the reel, the box reel. And really it's just a matter of storage for me because I don't like to have strings going everywhere. And I also don't like to spend a lot of money on strings because every guitar that we sell, I mean, it might go through 3 sets of strings before it leaves here because I use actual strings to do setup and stuff. There's a lot of guys that will actually just measure, but we actually put strings on the guitars. So And a lot of times, you know, when you're building a guitar and you're doing your final adjustments and you need to file on a nut or something, if you nick a string or whatever, then that set comes off and I put another set on. A saline solution soak and a tension test after. Dude, I'll talk to you some more about that. That's a really good idea. And then the other thing I want to do is, I got from another friend of mine idea is a oscilloscope, because you can actually see how many millivolts with a particular, it's hard to pluck it, but there is a way to do that, where you can evenly pluck a string. And what I would probably do is I would just take a guitar and I'd take all the strings off of it except for one. I would probably do it with the G string and with the low E string, so that you would have one wound string and one unwound string. And then what we would do is set up a mechanical thing where it would actually pluck the string consistently every time. This is no joke. I literally would do it like a drill motor with a flap on it, and then so that way it would hit the string consistently every time. And then what we would do is hook the guitar up to an oscilloscope, and so you would be able to see the millivolts that string plucked that hard with that amount of that pickup and everything in it, how many millivolts it would produce. Because there are differing, you know, the cobalt strings and some of those other ones, they do make a difference. It does give you more millivolts. They are stronger. But I mean, more millivolts isn't always the thing, you know. People, and see, this is the weird part, like, people think, Jack and I got, you know, probably two of the most long and ridiculous discussions yesterday on Facebook about that, what was it about? Oh, about that neck joint thing. And there are two things that are hilarious to me about guitar players in general. And this is going to be a little editorial, and you can not agree with me, or you can, but I'm right. There are two things about guitar players that are super annoying. And one is that this is not a belief system, it's science. Like, guitar playing and what makes a guitar work is physics. So no matter what you believe, physics makes it work. But for some reason, people tend to want to believe something, and because this is, and no matter how long you have believed it, it doesn't make you more right. I've been playing guitar for 35 years, and my bolt necks are blah blah blah, it's better than whatever. And it's always better than somebody else's, not different. Somebody, when they put out their opinion on the internet, and this is why I do what I do. When they put out their opinion on the internet, my strings are, my neck joint is, the finish on my guitar is, these picks are always better. They're never just different. And the bottom line is, the physics are the same for everything, and it's just different. So when you have Ernie Ball strings in a box, these are the cheapest, crappiest strings. I don't even want to say crappiest. Joe Bonamassa plays them, right? So because he must be awesome. Anyways, so you have, these are like the run-of-the-mill strings ever since we were kids, right? Ernie Ball, Slinkies, these are it, right? So now you have every other string. So every other string, because these are the run-of-the-mill strings since we were kids, must be better. They're not. The physics is the same for everything, which means that the other strings are just different. So if you take an Ernie Ball regular and it gives you, and so when people attach a number to whatever they're doing, then automatically it must be better. So because this string, I don't know, we'll just throw out a number just for discussion purposes, but it is about kind of accurate. So let's say this string right here will give you 300 millivolts on the A string with a particular pick and a whatever. and then you put a cobalt on it and it gives you 550 millivolts, so it must be better. No, it's not better, it's just more, it's just different. Just because it's more doesn't make it better, because it changes your sound. So if you sounded a certain way with this, and you recorded a record with this, and you won a Grammy with this, and then you change strings, then you're going to sound different. Because 300 millivolts to 600 millivolts hitting the front end of a 10 watt amp is a big deal. 300 millivolts versus 600 millivolts going into a tube screamer is a big deal. You're going to have to change knobs. I mean, you're going to have to change settings. Like, I mean, that's the whole thing. Now the tension thing, okay, so you're bringing up tension. Tension, there are some benefits to various different strings, tension-wise, because of stability, right? But, and this is where, so, okay, so the first thing is that people believe something even though it's not true. That's the first thing. I'm going to get into the tension thing in a minute. That's the first thing that irritates me about guitar players. The other thing that irritates me about guitar players is they will take one specific statistic or specification about a thing, and then they will zone in on it so tightly and make all their decisions, or a large portion, it will affect the choices that they make in their purchasing to a point that is ridiculous. Okay, so the neck joint thing, you know, neck through versus glue on versus bolt on, you know, there was a guy yesterday and he's like, yeah, but it's scientifically this and that. Can you hear it? No? Okay, well then move on. Like, don't get so wrapped up on one tiny little nth of a degree of something, because the thing is this: all of these numbers only matter if you are cloning a sound from someone else. So, and cloning a guitar. So if you have a 1962 Telecaster that you are trying to make a new one and make it sound exactly like that guitar and spec exactly to that guitar, then you're going to want to look at numbers and you want to get them close as possible. And the thing is, it's not going to happen. You're never going to be able to do it unless you can actually clone the wood grain, and you can actually clone the plastic, and you can actually clone the density of everything. It's never going to happen, so it doesn't matter. The minute you modify one thing, the minute you modify one thing from the standard, all of these comparison numbers and stuff go out the window, because you are doing something different, period. So, well, my guitar is exactly like his, except I have different saddles. Then you can't compare anything. My guitar is exactly like his, except for I use a different nut, or I use a different neck profile. And people will argue with me on that, but you play different, so it sounds different, okay? My guitar is exactly like his, except I have a rosewood fretboard and he has a maple fretboard. The wood don't matter in a fretboard, but it feels different, so you play different, okay? So the minute you change anything, the fret size, the radius, any of that stuff, all of these stupid little numbers that everybody gets all hung up on completely goes out the window, period. It just goes out the window. So this whole thing about people assigning a particular little statistic and then deciding that it really matters, and so now I can't buy these other strings because this number is different, is BS. It just is. So getting back around, and I have not forgotten your question. So getting back around to your balanced tension thing. Tension, there's a couple different reasons why people do it. Some people will buy balanced tension sets because it does change the sound. See, this is one area where next week on our show on kprlive.com, we're going to talk about how an electric guitar works and how it really makes sound, okay? And I don't want to get too much into it right now, but basically the bottom line is all the business happens between the nut and the saddles, in the tone producing portion of the guitar, in the tonal area. That's where all the business is, and that's where you want to keep all the business. You don't want it going anywhere else. You want it between the nut and the saddle. So tension, string tension is a huge, huge, huge thing. So if you can have a balanced tension set, if you can have more consistent tension per string, string gauges kind of matter. Tuning stability, 99% of the time doesn't have to do with the string unless you have a really crappy string, or if you have a brand of strings that is consistently inconsistent, you know what I mean, then you have a problem. But Ernie Ball's not going to be inconsistent. You know, there's a lot of boutique string manufacturers out there. I should do a string thing because we should talk about, and Jack can help me with this. Strings are kind of like tubes. There are companies that make their own strings, but then there's a lot of companies that they all came out of the same box and they put different labels on them. So that is another thing, you know, that we should definitely do a thing on. But those are the two things that irritate me, and when it really comes down to it, those are really the only two. I don't have anything else in the world really that irritates me except for those two things about guitar players, because they hold so on to, you know, to whatever. And then the funny part is, when there is actually something better, hashtag Kemper, they don't want to change, even though there are obvious benefits to a particular piece of technology that has now come into the guitar playing world. Hashtag Kemper, hashtag silicone transistors. She's laughing at me. I'm not doing the symbol though. I'm not doing the hashtag thing.
Why not?
Because I didn't have hands free at that time.
Oh.
I was not. I had my hands were busy
Copy
with
hands.
copying cameras and stuff. So that's my little rant. I'm probably gonna put this on YouTube. See how many people I can anger with it. On National Women's Day.
All right.
Yep. So anyway, that's it for now. You got me all riled up.
Is this riled up?
This is it.
Woo.
Yeah, those are the two.
Intense.
I told them those are the two things that annoy me. I don't have anything else really.
Intense.
I have nothing else
Yeah,
that
but then
really
you said
annoys me.
about guitars, so.
I don't really have anything other about guitarists that annoy me. I mean, I don't. It all comes back to the same thing. It all comes back to guitar players that think it's people. It's a personality. It really is. It's the kind of person that is going to be like, well, my daddy did it this way, so that's the way I'm going to do it. Whether there's a better way or not, there's that guy.
You.
And then there's I really believe it comes down to this. I need to find a way to make myself sound better or feel better about my guitar playing, so I have to attach a statistic to it or some other specification that I can change, that I can now measure to make myself feel better or be better guitar player instead of just practicing.
All about that affirmation, false or not.
It is. It's all about affirmation of a feeling. And guitars are not feelings. They don't have feelings. They don't breathe. They don't.
But they move.
They move. They do move. But they don't. They don't have feelings. This is not like, as much as people want to say that playing guitar is a faith-based religious endeavor, it is not.
Is that what they say?
Well, obviously, I believe that this string, I believe that this whatever. Okay, this ain't church. As much as people want to say it is, it's not. It is science. And I'm not saying the two don't mix. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that guitar stuff is physics. And you can measure it and you can check it out. And then you can also be so stuck on the measurements that what you really need to do is practice more. That's why I always say surf less and play more. I'm out of here. I'll talk to y'all later.